If you're watching this video, then you already know why I'm making it. Nano V movies, one marvelous scene, you know the drill. I know this is like super late, but I didn't get to see Endgame until like a week and a half after it came out, so I was avoiding everything Marvel related in the meantime, and then it took me forever to actually make the video, so whatever, it still counts, right? Yeah. Right, so I'm Veronica, and this scene I'm going to talk about is from Avengers Endgame, so if you still haven't seen the movie yet, go away, and come back after you've seen it. Like, for real. This is a major spoil, yo, like, seriously. Are they on? Cool. We all know Endgame was like a serious, emotional roller coaster, but there were two scenes in particular that affected me personally the most. One is the final battle, which had me hyperventilating and shaking because of the epic intensity, and the other one is the tragic death of Natasha Romanoff, which had me full-on weeping. So the latter scene is the one which I am talking about today. I like to make clear that I'm not usually a crier, especially in regards to films. I'm generally a pretty reserved person, so even though I feel sad when characters die or other such things happen, I don't usually cry. For instance, the only other deaths in the MCU that made me cry were Groot's death in the first Guardians of the Galaxy and Spider-Man's death in Infinity War. Otherwise, I was sad and maybe close to tears, but I never actually cried. For Natasha, I think that was actually the hardest I've ever cried over a fictional character in anything, and for me, that's a big deal. Like, you don't know me, but if you did, then, yeah. First, I'm going to talk about why I think this scene hit me so hard emotionally, and then about how it's a truly beautiful end for Black Widow's character. On the subject of my tear glands, I think the first and most obvious reason why I cried is simply that I like Natasha and was invested in her character. She's never been my favorite Avenger, but I've always liked her, so I knew that I would definitely be sad when she died, no matter how it happened. Like I said though, she's not my absolute favorite, so why was I so upset? A big reason, I think, was the really great performances we get from both Scarlett Johansson and Jeremy Renner in this scene, and Scarlett Johansson's performance in general. I don't really know why, specifically, but for the whole movie, up to that point, I just wanted to give Nat a hug, like, for real. Something about her acting all throughout just got to me, man. Even in the trailers, when they show that scene where she and Clint meet up for the first time in Japan, it got to me. Without the great performances, I doubt this scene would have been nearly as impactful as it was. The final thing I thought of was just how tragic her death is. Just the whole idea that someone has to die to get this stupid stone is very upsetting, and it feels wrong that we have to sacrifice a good person to undo the damage that Thanos did. The finality of it all also adds to it, knowing that we can never get her back is soul-crushing. No pun intended. What's more, they can't even bury her body. She sacrificed her life for the whole universe, and didn't even get a proper burial. And that's just sad. Okay, now that we're all adequately heartbroken, let's talk about the positive of this scene and how, even though it's so tragic and depressing, it's really a great way for the character of Black Widow to end. To get into that, let's take a look at how the scene plays out. Clint and Natasha arrive on Vormir to retrieve the Soul Stone, and I think going into the scene, most of us knew that at least one of them was going to die, even if we weren't sure which. My sister, for instance, guessed that it would be Natasha from the start, but I wasn't sure. Red Skull greets them and informs them of the fact that one of them has to sacrifice themselves. It was here that it clicked for me that it was going to be Black Widow, just from her behavior from earlier in the movie. Close to the beginning, she has a conversation with Cap, identifying the Avengers as her family, and saying that because of them, she wants to be better. Because of this, I thought, oh, of course, she's going to sacrifice herself for her family. Although for a second when they were standing there holding hands, I thought they were gonna jump off the cliff together, but I mean, that wouldn't accomplish anything, so it was pretty stupid now that I think about it. Anyway, Clint and Natasha fight, both trying to stop the other from jumping off, which keeps you guessing up until the last moment when she finally falls. Which was when I started sobbing. Well, okay, not sobbing, but the waterworks were on, man. Then Clint wakes up in what I like to call the soul puddle, and his reaction just adds to the heartbreak of it all. Alright, I have several points on how this is a great end for Natasha's character, so let's go through them one by one. The first one I thought of is something I kind of mentioned a second ago. It's easy to gather from the movies that Natasha doesn't have the highest opinion of herself. Since she's done all of these terrible things in her past, she considers herself a monster, and I think she kind of feels like she can never truly belong anywhere. Like how in her flashback in Age of Ultron, she says, "I have no place in the world," and I think she still kind of believes that. And one of the reasons she is so determined to sacrifice herself is because she believes she has finally found meaning and purpose. This is her place in the world. Her life can now mean something because she's helping to save the entire universe. The second point sort of goes out from that. All of Natasha's life, she has been used by other people. She's just been a tool for higher powers. But now, in this moment, she makes her own decision. No one is forcing her to do this. Hawkeye is actually trying to stop her from doing it, but she wants to. Well, I mean, it's not that she wants to die, but she is willing. It's a really great contrast to Thanos' sacrifice of Gamora in Infinity War. Whereas in that movie, he dragged her over the cliff, kicking and screaming, here in Endgame, Natasha freely sacrifices herself out of true love for her friends, unlike Thanos' fake, selfish love. Before I get to the last point, I want to talk about Natasha and Clint's relationship in this scene, and why she refused to let him be the one to die. I mean, I'm pretty sure she would have tried to stop anyone from jumping off the cliff, no matter who it was, but there is an interesting aspect with it being Clint specifically. One thing which my sister thought of is that in this scene, Natasha learns her father's name for the first time. I think this brought to the forefront of her mind the fact that she grew up without a father, and she knows how terrible that was, and so she refuses to let Clint's kids have to experience that too. This last bit is kind of a blend between talking about her and Hawkeye and also my last point, so hopefully it makes sense. Natasha's death is very redemptive in nature. As she says in Avengers, she got red in her ledger and she wants to wipe it out. While we don't know the full extent of all the things she's done, it's implied that they were pretty nasty. And now she gets to atone for that by saving literally the entire universe. It's such a beautiful way to pay off her character, and even though I'm devastated, I love it. Okay, here's where it ties back to Hawkeye. Before they start fighting over who gets to jump, Clint says, "You know what kind of person I've become." He clearly feels shame for all of the murderous acts he has committed recently, and he wants to atone for it as well. But Natasha sees that Clint has another way of redeeming himself, by being there for his family. She knows he can be better, even if she doesn't think she ever can, and she won't let him miss out on that opportunity. So she gives her of herself. So, yeah, in conclusion, Black Widow's death is a perfect wrap-up for her character because it is willingly sacrificial and redemptive. Natasha has always really been a giving person, whether willingly or unwillingly, and here it culminates in the ultimate gift. You know what they say, greater love hath no man, or woman, I guess, than this, that they lay down their life for their friends. Heroic sacrifices always get to me. There's a solace in them, a feeling of meaning which makes the death just a little bit less sad. Between the great acting, emotional weight, and perfect characterization in the scene, I would say that it is truly marvelous. Rest in peace, Natasha and Tony. You will be greatly missed. Alright, so that's all. So thank you so much for watching. Normally this is where people say like and subscribe or whatever, but this is legit the first video I've ever made on my channel, and I don't know if I even plan to make any more, so yeah. I guess if people are interested, I'll make more, but whatever. If you're wondering why I picked a scene from Endgame, it was mainly because all the other scenes I liked have already been talked about, and also because why not? You can't stop me. Anyway, yeah, after thinking about it a lot more, I've just really come to appreciate Black Widow's character in a way I didn't previously, which makes it even more sad that they killed her off, but it's okay. Once again, thank you for listening, sorry for bad quality, and I wish you all a most delightful and pleasant day. Goodbye.